What's up, everybody? If you notice that I'm wearing the same shirt as I was in the last video, and that I continue to wear the same shirt in the next two videos that I'll be posting, well, that's because I'm recording them all on the same day, and choosing to gatekeep them from you, just so that you have to wait a little longer. I'm edging you, chat. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to this series, where we are diving into every secret subrole within Pokemon Unite. So, today, we are going to be talking about the Speedsters, which is perhaps my favorite role to play in the game. Hey, by the way, my name is Husky, and did you know that I have merch? The Speedster role is a really difficult one to balance, because sometimes Speedsters are broken and other times they're absolutely horrible, but I think right now, at least they're decently balanced. The Pokemon Unite website defines Speedsters as Pokemon that have high mobility and offense and excel at making quick attacks and scoring points. So Speedsters do three main things: mobility, offense, and scoring. They're squishy and usually focus on combos that involve their high mobility and jumping in and out of fights. Speedsters are often not who engages or starts a fight, they're the ones who jump in and finish it and get quick KOs. Speedsters are arguably the most skill-intensive role due to having to balance multiple responsibilities with their low HP pools. They were originally built for the jungle, at least in my opinion, but many of them can also lane pretty well. There are currently 9 Speedsters if you count Scyther, 10 if you count our upcoming Darkrai. Let's take a look at our Speedster chart, refreshing our understanding of all of the roles. Speedsters, unlike the other classes, don't have their own Speedster-specific area of the chart. For all-rounders, we had casters versus autos, and for defenders, we had recovery versus control, and for supports, we had healers. But Speedsters are a class that kind of weaves themselves into every other class. Now let's jump into our subroles. The first subrole is the Diver. This is our most populated role, connecting Speedsters to all-rounders. 6 out of our 9 Speedsters fall into this role, excelling in jumping into the enemy team and dealing frontline damage, and then they also have a little bit of sustain as well, despite being overall squishy, but it's just so that they can stay in the fight longer and continue to deal damage for a little while more. They're highly mobile, jumping around the enemy team and dealing bursty damage before the enemy can even react. But the downside of this class is that if they're stunned in the process of executing their combos, it's pretty much over for them. For items, attack-based items are likely to work, but they're often good with Razor Claw because of their moves being used often. Attack weight can be good, Muscle Band, Weakness Policy, even Float Stone is good on these Pokemon. This is a role where it's probably best to run 3 damage-focused items, but you can never go wrong with defensive items either, like a Focus Band, for example. For emblems, running 6 brown, 6 white on this Pokemon is your best bet. We talked about our Roamer role in our Defender video, but these are fun Speedsters who exist mainly to score. They're fast and slippery, living through situations that they had absolutely no business living through. They usually show up halfway through a fight just to finish it off and go right back to living in the enemy jungle and scoring annoying amounts of points. Floatstone's usually good on these Pokemon, but also any attack-based items are usually pretty good. Stacking's usually necessary here as well, just because of the focus on scoring. You could even run an EXP share if you're feeling a little wild and crazy. 6 brown, 6 white emblems is the best you can do, but you could even go for movement speed items. There's even an attack-based cooldown emblem page that isn't too bad here either. My favorite subrole of Speedster is the Harasser, connecting the Speedsters to supports. They usually have an instance or two of high skill stun, a lot of mobility, and move in and out of fights seamlessly. They can act as something of a support even though they do damage because they're stunning opponents or drawing them toward the rest of your team. You should still be running attack-based items on these Pokemon, usually triple damage, but there's also nothing wrong with running some defensive item like Focus Band or Resonant Guard. You'd rarely run an EXP share here, even though they're kind of supporters, but you can run it. Still 6 brown, 6 white emblems, but yellow can be fun too. The final subrole for Speedsters is the Burster, and the only brand new subrole to this series so far. It connects Speedsters to attackers. This role is focused on getting huge amounts of burst damage and comboing from range before jumping in for the assassination. They're squishy and focus on combos, but they also have that range type of play style that plays kind of like an attacker. It's an interesting role for sure. It makes me wonder what they could do with this type of playstyle for Speedsters in the future. For items, running 3 damage-based items is usually the wave, but running 1 defensive item for some safety isn't a bad call either. Running cooldown-based emblems is usually pretty good here, but attack or special attack emblems are also solid. Now that we understand our Speedster roles, let's dive into the specific Pokemon in this role. Let's start with Zeraora, one of the first Pokemon in the game, and it's still super fun and solid one to play. Zeraora, with its Spark build, is often focused on chasing down and diving into the enemies, making it a really solid diver. It can stand in the fight with Discharge, gaining a shield and a bit of sustain, or it can avoid damage altogether with Wild Charge. The other option is Zeraora's Volt Switch, which can make it into Harasser due to the tech with a Volt Switch and Discharge. Basically, you can use Volt Switch and Discharge to pull an enemy along the line of Volt Switch, setting them up for a KO from your allies. It's a really fun way to play this Pokemon, and honestly, this is why it was being used in the World Championships. Next is my favorite speedster and current main, Meowscarada. This is my favorite Pokemon in the game, and it's climbing the charts as one of my favorite Pokemon of all time as well. But there's one build I play, and one build I don't play. The one I don't play is the Diver Focus build with Trailblaze. You jump in, do damage, and jump back out. If you use Night Slash, you also have the extra sustain to keep you brawling for longer, plus a super broken passive. The other option, though, is the Harasser build, with Double Team and usually Flower Trick. You throw Double Team, confuse the enemy, and then switch with the Double Team to stun the enemy that touched your clone. It's a more skill-intensive, but my personal favorite build in the entire game. You can run it with Night Slash too, but I definitely prefer Flower Trick for those bigger bursts of damage. Next up, we have Leafeon, a unique speedster with a level 4 evolution and one of the best early games out of the speedsters. Like the other two we've discussed, Leafeon has two roles with its different playstyles. The first is my preferred, Razor Leaf, which makes it a diver. It's responsible for getting into the mix, hitting with Razor Leaf for a bit of a shield, then jumping around with either Leaf Blade or Aerial Ace for some insane damage and pickups. It can combo with its Unite move also for some really great diving opportunities and move options for brawling. Its other playstyle is the Burster playstyle with Solar Blade, where its focus is on securing rather than diving. It takes farm away from enemies and hits from a longer range than expected, waiting for its opportunity to jump in to secure the KO. Next is Zoroark. This Pokemon is basically the definition of a diver. It relies heavily on its combos. Without completing a highly skill-intensive combo, the Zoroark can't actually do that much. But a good Zoroark player is seriously terrifying, balancing its sustain with its combo and securing KOs before the enemy even know what hit them. It can also get out of bad situations using its Illusion or its Unite move. It can do a ton of damage or none at all, depending on how good the Zoroark player is. Our next diver is Absol, another Pokemon that focuses on balancing its combos and opportunities for a bit of extra sustain, but it's still very squishy, and if its combo doesn't get the KO, it usually suffers for it. Absol has great chase with Pursuit and Night Slash, and opportunities for CC with both Psycho Cut or Sucker Punch. Right now, the best move in its kit is Pursuit, combined with Psycho Cut or Sucker Punch, and it has a great chase and huge burst, making it great for that diver role. Absol's another one that had a really broken meta, like Leafeon, where it could literally burst down objectives in seconds, and I'm definitely glad we don't have that anymore, but sometimes it does feel like Absol is just a feather. Next is Scyther, a Pokemon that technically is part of Scizor, which is an all-rounder. Scyther's been basically accepted as a speedster by the community, but it still falls into the diver sub-role, connecting it somewhat to an all-rounder. It jumps in with its dual wing beat, it has a bit of sustain from that final hit of dual wing beat, and it jumps around with double hit, making it really difficult to target. But like all the divers, if it gets caught or stunned, that's basically it for Scyther. It's really difficult to play, like all speedsters, but like all speedsters as well, a good Scyther is really good. Next is one of our roamers, Dodrio. The three-headed bird is really fast, really slippery, and super annoying. It focuses on scoring, invading, and ruining your life. It's one of those Pokemon that gets to just kind of exist in a match. It doesn't necessarily team fight well, but it can displace and stun enemies, or just generally run around fights and distract opponents to get the enemies tilted enough to chase it. It follows the Greedent rule, which is generally don't chase the bird. Another Pokemon that follows this rule is Talonflame, our other roamer. It has a move where it can quite literally avoid damage to run away, and it excels in both scoring and invading. It's not great in team fights, but it can still do a ton of damage, and it has a bit of stun built in just to add a bit more to its ability to get away. I would say that along with Sableye, Talonflame, and Dodrio are the best Pokemon to run a Goal Getter on. Not that Goal Getter is good regardless, but if you have to. Lastly, we have Gengar. I would say we saved the best for last, but Gengar is most definitely the worst. It's hardly played anymore, and it's considered to be one of the worst Pokemon in the game. It can definitely pop off, but it just needs a bit of something to make it viable again, but it is considered to be a burster because of its combos that begin from range. It throws its Sludge Bomb or Dream Eater, and only when it hits does Gengar jump in. It can go insane with back-to-back combos and assassinations, but with a meta heavily dependent on CC, it often just gets stunned in the middle of its combo before it can even get anything done. So there you have it, our 9 speedsters and their roles explained. As with the rest of these videos, I would love to know your thoughts on this and how you feel about the speedsters and the sub-roles I've explained in this video. We also have a new speedster coming, so where do you think Darkrai will end up in our chart? Will you pick it up when it comes out? What's your favorite speedster? What's your favorite color? Let me know in the comments. And as always, I will see you guys next time for our last and final video of the series. Bye!